Greetings and welcome to my channel. This is Sorcerer Tal. You can also find me online at sorcerersguild.com as well as on Facebook at the Sorcerers Guild. Today we are going to be continuing with my collection of fictional works of Anarchy's Last Stand, but we're actually, rather than continuing with the poetry that I said we were going to continue with, there's been a lot of interest in the first of the essays. So I've decided what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and skip to the essays, and we'll just put the poems out here and there one at a time. So we're going to skip ahead to the first essay, which is a little more in line with the rest of the channel. I'm sure you noticed I missed last week. There's a little bit of changes in my life again, and well, life forced me into getting a higher paying job. So my schedule got changed a little bit and threw me off. But we are going to continue with the same schedule as we had before. And in fact, this Saturday, I will be putting out an episode where I attempt to define what chaos magic is. It's been a popular topic lately. I figured I should go ahead and throw my own definition in there as well. So look for that this Saturday. In the meantime, since it's Tuesday, we are going to continue with the Anarchy's Last Stand, my collected works. But like I said, we're going to skip past the poetry, and we're going to begin the first of the essays. Now, I'm not sure why this particular essay really wound up in Anarchy's Last Stand. It could have been in the shadow, in the Sorcerer's Shadow. It's about using the nothing and how to utilize that concept. But it's from a slightly, I guess, more of a religious interpretation of the idea. Anyways, the essay is entitled, Entering the Eye of the Storm, as in the letter I. Nothing is an idea for which Homo sapien has a word but no understanding, because we cannot truly conceptualize the literal meaning of its definition. Not even a void is nothing. It is empty space. Nothing can be neither full nor empty. It can be neither black nor white nor clear, for it is the absence of all things. It is because of this all too real impossibility of the existence of nothing, or rather, the impossible existence of nothing, that we must learn to understand this conflict of paradox. For it is within this concept of nothingness that we begin to see the clues to the unmoved mover, or holy noise, which science has termed the Big Bang. In the beginning, there was no beginning. In the deepest depths of existence, there is no concept of time. There can be no beginning, no end, only an omnipresent eternal now. In these deepest depths of eternity, there exists the impossibility of nothing. Nothing is the absence of all things. No dark, no light, not even an empty void, not even the existence of absence. The first flow of information, the first spark of energy that later condensed into matter, was the information of nothing. Long before the first speck of dust drifted in the limitless void of space, the movement of information became concepts. All of existence is simply the condensed movement of thought, created by the beliefs of an infinite number of awarenesses. For every thought, there is an equal and opposite thought, and the sum total of all existence is zero. There is nothing. No light, no dark, no empty space, not even a void. And yet at the same time, for every thought, there is an equal and opposite thought, and the sum total of all existence is unknowable. All of existence is a spinning, spiraling chain reaction. A hurricane or tornado is a good example of the spiral tendency, as is the spiraling chains of DNA that is the blueprint for all life on this planet. This chain reaction, the cycle of life, death, rebirth, is like the spinning of a giant wheel, with many spokes, which are in turn made up of smaller wheels, some smaller than atoms, others larger than the earth. Through this chain reaction, life achieves balance, precisely because all life is in conflict. I see that the earth is spinning, and I find this holy. Everything is constantly changing, living, dying, and being reborn in a giant chain reaction of cause and effect. I find this beautiful. This chain reaction is the driving force behind all things. This omnipresent metaphor is known as the all-thing, because it encompasses all things. This many-faceted spiral has an infinite number of tunnels, leading to all the individual awarenesses and all the infinite number of realities. The other end of this omnipresent metaphor returns the existence of the nothing. So we continue existing between these two dialectic poles of the all-thing and the nothing. To properly utilize these two concepts requires contemplation and meditation. Nothing is an impossible concept for the mind to visualize, for there is nothing to visualize. We cannot come to feel it, for there is nothing there to feel. To meditate on the nothing is to contemplate the existence of non-existence. To contemplate the all-thing is to meditate upon the interconnectedness of all things and the spiral which they form. To contemplate the all-thing is to become one with the body of the cosmos. In between these two concepts is the eye of the storm. This is where power is found. Entering the eye of the storm is when contemplation of the nothing has left your mind in a state so empty and clear that it may contain a small fraction of the all-thing, while maintaining the same clarity as if you were in the eye of the storm. Through this ability to visualize and comprehend a small portion of the all-thing, we are able to direct this creative force into our own individual awarenesses, thereby entering the eye of the storm, or becoming consciously aware of the flow of spiraling energy that connects your individual will to the infinite power of the all-thing. Once conceptualized, it is possible to allow this energy to flow through you and out around you. This is my answer to a magic circle, by summoning the eye of the storm. Within this vortex, comprised of your very existence, is the power to create your own reality. Okay, so I'm not going to end there quite. I'd like to talk about that essay a little bit and what all of that means. We talked about this before, of course, about the all thing and the nothing. This is one of the things that is a constant side narrative to pretty much everything that I do, because that is the first paradox, the holy noise, whatever you want to call it. It's the first conflict, because the impossibility of nothing, and yet nothing exists. As a reaction to that, everything else exists, kind of like the negative and positive on a car battery. Now, this doesn't necessarily put us on a duality, because like chaos, order, everything, nothing, yeah? That that polarity, but you have to understand that we are not reaching for these two extremes. We want to find that balance in the center. There's actually a non-duality to this, because it is a spectrum, and we need to find our place within that spectrum. It's not always the center, where our own personal balance is on each one of those things. But now I'm really getting off track. So, back to the idea of the nothing and the all thing. And I mean, in a way, it's fairly clear. You have the non-existence, and then on the other end, you've got this idea of the interconnectedness of all things, where all things are one thing. And at the same time, though, there's another balance there, yeah? There's the everything is individual, everything is connected. So those things are true as well. But they are a slightly different conflict. And that's where our center is where our one individual piece is. All things have their individuality. And it is your individuality in the center that is the eye of the storm, as everything else rotates around you. And we can use this, as I said, to call forth a type of circle, which is very powerful. We allow that vortex to come within us. Picture it flowing up into us. We are the one piece of individuality in the center. And we're going to be picturing this, I usually picture it as a pyramid, with an eye in the center, and then a level across the top, like a balance beam. Excuse me. Okay, I usually picture this like a pyramid, with a balance beam across the top, and then I've got a dot on one side and a spiral on the other, and that helps me get into that center. And then once we are there, we need to change that pyramid so that there is that pyramid with all of that, right? With the spiral and the dot and the pyramid itself and its balance beam onto a larger balancing beam where the other side simply isn't. Yeah? And we're never going to be able to picture isn't. There's nothing to picture, like I said. But once we have this concept, we can allow for that concept. And imagine that larger vortex that it creates, and we allow that to come up in around us and out. And that is how we cast a circle with the eye of the storm. Now, beyond that, like I said, this is part of how we shape our reality. But as we have been discussing along with this video, the true power of the nothing, once we have achieved this eye of the storm, this is actually just a place of perspective. Once we have found our perspective of the eye within the storm, we are able to look more fully to the edge of the nothing. And what we are seeking there, as I have talked about it in other videos, is the unperceived potential so that we may perceive it into being. Yeah? That's a bit of a harder concept to understand. I do have another video about that. I'm going to put a link to that here because I did a very good job of explaining it there. But what I'm talking about is, at that moment of the Big Bang, there are things that were perceived, and those created the realities that are. And then there is that potential that is unperceived in each one of these moments going outward. And with proper perspective, we can learn to perceive this non-existent potential that could be if it's simply perceived into being. Okay, like I said, I'm going to leave a link for that because I explained it much better that time. So if you want to understand more about that, go to that link there. Like I said, this Saturday I'll be putting out a video giving my definition and explanation as to what chaos magic is. So look for that this Saturday. That's going to be it for this video. So, in the meantime, bright blessings and an interesting fate. This has been Sorcerer Tal.